What's up, everybody? Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox, and today we're talking NBA playoffs. So let's welcome in our guest, Kenny Bets Big. Kenny, I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
I know it's been a minute, right? I'm excited to be back on here. The NBA playoffs have been absolutely crazy, so I know we got a lot to talk about.
Absolutely crazy. And to be fair, I think the NHL playoffs have also been like between the NHL and the NBA, it has just been pure entertainment for sports bettors and just sports fans alike. So yeah, let's get into it. I mean, I think this is the biggest shock so far. The number one Milwaukee Bucks were knocked off by the Heat last night in overtime. Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets. I saw a tweet the other day that they should call it Jim Walkie. Now put up 42 points. 42 points after he put up 53 in the game previously. He had this fourth quarter rally that was absolutely insane, pushing them into overtime. The last time that an 8 seed upset a 1 seed was in 2012 when the Sixers knocked off the Bulls. One, what are your thoughts on this? Because I was really high on the Bucks this year, and I thought it was definitely going to be their year. Now, I will say, Giannis getting injured and missing, a game or two there, and then not being 100%, I think is the reason why the Heat won this. Now, I'm not saying that the Heat didn't deserve it, and the Jimmy Buckets isn't phenomenal. Is it sustainable for Jimmy Butler to carry this team like this, especially as we go against the Knicks? But what was your thought on this series?
So now I think we should because of the play-in, like I don't think this was the Heat were not a true 8 seed to me, right? I think you and I even talked about this on the last show that I was on here with how some of these play-in teams we would have thought were hot, like would have been like a 4 seed, a 5 seed. So I don't know if I would consider the Heat like a true 8 seed like in years past, right? And yeah, I mean Jimmy Butler just went absolutely nuclear. 56 points in the previous game, 40 plus last night in a closeout win. I mean, you can't say enough about what he did to carry them. Now, to answer your question, no, I don't think that's sustainable. I think against the Knicks, I think the Tyler Hero injury is gonna, show face a little more, and you're gonna see the Heat struggle since they are missing, just that extra piece to score points and put, an extra body.
Well, let me ask you this because I don't know if you saw the post game press conference where a reporter asked Giannis if he considers this year a failure, and Giannis gave a very passionate response, which I actually agree with. When he threw it back on the guy, he was like, "All right, did you get a promotion this year?" And the guy said no, and he was like, "Well, you didn't get a promotion this year. Is this year a failure for you in your job?" And he's like, "This is what sports are. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose." And so I've seen like different reactions to it. I tend to think like, yeah, sometimes the ball is in your favor and sometimes it's not. Now, are there things preventable maybe that can happen that, you didn't do well on? Sure. Jimmy Buckets scoring, 40 plus, 50 plus a night is going to hurt anybody. But I don't think that this season is a failure. Now they were the number 1 seed losing to the 8 seed, but to your point, like the Lakers are a totally different team than what their record reflected and similar to the Heat. Do you think that this season is a failure for Giannis and the Bucks?
I loved the answer from Giannis. Just another Giannis W, right? Like the guy
Agreed.
never seems to miss in these interviews, but it has to be a failure. Like, I understand where he was going with, asking the reporter, have you gotten a promotion? But this is not like the sports world and the real world are different worlds, right? At least for us as fans and spectators, the Bucks came into the playoffs with expectations as high as ever. They were the odds-on favorite to win it all. They were healthy this year, finally, right? They had Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Giannis all healthy. So yeah, I think it has to be somewhat of a failure when you gauge it
Yeah,
in terms of the ultimate goal is to win the championship.
right.
Um, I think if you asked Giannis before the season, hey, if you don't win the championship, was it a successful season? I think he would have said no, because
Yeah.
that's what they're there to do. But again, Giannis is right in a sense where you can't win every year. It's just not possible.
Well, he was like, Michael Jordan played for X amount of years. He only won this amount. Like, is every other year a failure? So I definitely see both sides of it. But you mentioned, they were the odds-on favorite, and they were my favorite to win the whole thing. Now, of course, I'm a Warriors fan, so I'm always going to be throwing money on the Warriors, and I do believe in them. But let's take a look at how these odds have shaked out now with the Bucks out of it. Celtics clear favorite. I feel like them and the Bucks were neck and neck, plus 165. Then you got the Suns plus 400, Warriors plus 650. Then you got the Sixers, Nuggets, and the Lakers at +1,000. Now, if we're looking at these right now, I'm never going to count the Warriors out. Now, of course, they got to win one more game. I've been saying Warriors in 6. I think that they can do it at Chase Center, and it seems to me like this, like the Warriors, to your point too, were not, this team is not reflective of the seed that they were going into this tournament. But I think the Kings is one of the hardest matchups that they're going to see. And now I know we still have the Nuggets and the Suns series, and that those teams are also lethal. But I feel like the Warriors are heating up, and so I like the Warriors. But if I'm looking at these, I think sprinkling a little on the Lakers at +1,000 is not a bad bet. It would have been crazy to say this before the trade deadline, but LeBron James is looking like vintage LeBron James. He's doing king stuff at +1,000. I don't know. I kind of think it's worth a sprinkle. But when you look at these, any long shots that you think would be a good one to throw some money on?
I'm right there with you. You know, sometimes you just got to bet on the goats.
Yes.
And LeBron at +1,000, it is very enticing. And you look at the way the Lakers are playing right now; they're playing very good basketball. They're first in the playoffs in points in the paint. I think they're third or fourth in defensive rating. So you know they're clicking at the right time. And they have LeBron James. He just recorded his first 2020 game ever in his career. Like the guy's doing things we haven't seen him do, which is crazy to say because he's done it all. But yeah, I like the Lakers at +1,000 just based on the odds and the value I think they present, and I think the Sixers are an interesting
Yeah.
play in the East, especially with the Bucks out now. I think the Sixers could, if let's say the Celtics advance past the Hawks, I think the Sixers could upset the Boston Celtics for sure.
Yeah. I think so too. The fact that the Hawks have been able to win as many games, I thought that could have been very easily a sweep. So yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. And I don't know how exactly it's going to work out, but if we had a Warriors and a Lakers Western Conference final, I think that would be the most exciting thing because it'd be kind of a repeat of the Cleveland Warriors. You know, LeBron versus Steph back in 2016, when of course the Warriors lost
Well,
that one. So
we can't get them, and they're going to play next round if they
they're
both
gonna play in the
advance.
next round. Ah, bummer. All right, well, that's not gonna happen. I was wondering how that worked out, but that would be super exciting. Well, okay, it'll make us it's exciting in the semifinals too. Why
I
not?
do have a question for you though.
Okay.
As a Warriors fan, you know, I'm sure you love Steph. If the Lakers face the Warriors in the next round, do you think if Steph beats the Lakers there and goes on to win another title, do you think Steph is putting himself as in the argument of the greatest player of all time? Like, why does no one really talk about that?
The weird, I think because Steph traditionally is not a two-way player. He's not really known for his defense. You look at someone like LeBron James that's good on both ends of the ball. You look at someone like, all of the GOATs have been very good defensive players and high scores. And that's why I think they categorize Steph Curry as the greatest shooter of all time, but they stop at saying the greatest player of all time. Now, I'm biased, of course, and I think his defense has gotten a lot better too. We saw it last year in the NBA playoffs, certainly in the finals. We've seen it in this first round too. So yeah, I think he does get the short end of the stick a little bit because he's not one of these big guys that's also very dominant on the defensive end of the board. And so I feel like he's never going to go into that conversation against LeBron or a Kobe or a Michael Jordan. I think people are happy just to say he's the greatest shooter of all time. So yeah, I do think that that's interesting. What do you think about it?
I love Steph, and if Steph goes on to win another championship, I think,
Hard to argue.
yeah, I mean, how could you not put him up there? Like personally, I think he's a top 5 player ever in the history of the game.
I agree.
And he doesn't ever get put in the top 5 for whatever reason. The guy changed the way that basketball is played
Yeah.
across the world. Like if you go to AAU games, high school games, when I was playing basketball, kids were not pulling up from half court shot, shooting half court shots like it was nothing. You watch it now and everyone wants to be Steph Curry. So, yeah, I mean, I think the guy gets disrespected mightily.
I do too. Okay, we're going to go night night on this. Take a quick break or watch a Moxie Bets. We'll be right back. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. What's up, guys? Back here on Moxie Bets, and I'm here with my friend Kenny Bets Big talking NBA playoffs. Right, we alluded to it a little bit in Mox Thought. Knicks, the number 5 seed versus the Heat, the number 8 seed, questionable seeding, as we've already talked about. They're going to be facing off for the second round after the Knicks beat the Cavs in 5 games, and of course the shocking upset of the Bucks by the Heat. This is interesting. Knicks are a favorite to win this one, minus 155 series. Heat plus 130. One, I want to know, is there any value you think in taking this plus 130 for the Heat to win this series? And then if not, what are some series bets that you're looking at for this?
Go New York, go New York, go Katie. It's got to be the Knicks here.
Hell
Knicks
yeah.
first in defensive rating in the playoffs. Since the playoffs have started, they've ratcheted up the defense, and they're just first in turnover percentage. You look at how they're scoring; they're third in percentage of points scored inside the paint, which I think is going to be a problem for the Heat because you look at the defense, right? The Heat are allowing opponents to shoot over 67% inside 5 feet in the playoffs. So the Knicks, you look at that, edge Knicks, right?
Yeah.
And then let's just look at that Buck series. How much had to go right for the
Yeah.
Miami Heat to advance there?
Yeah.
Game one, the Heat put up their best shooting performance of the entire season, right? The entire season. Game one, Giannis gets hurt. He misses 2 games. Game four, Jimmy Butler puts in a historic 56-point performance and 2 fourth
Unbelievable.
quarter rallies against
Yeah.
the Milwaukee Bucks to win that series. So yeah, I think the public is going to think the Heat at plus money is a steal, and I'm not buying that one. So I tend to not like to lay the juice, but I'm going to lay the juice with the Knicks here minus 155 and take them to win the series.
Yeah, I like that, and I agree with you. I'm going to take the Knicks in 6 at plus 450. And look, the Knicks have home court advantage here, and what better home court than MSG? And we've seen how fired up these New York fans are. I mean, they hadn't even won the series yet, and they're closing down 7th Avenue because there's so many fans and they're so hyped. So you've got to think round two. The fact that the Knicks haven't been here since Linsanity,
Mhm.
basically. That is a home court advantage that I want nothing to do with if I'm Miami, especially because Miami, they don't even care to show up to games. I don't know how many times I have watched the Heat play in the playoffs, and there are empty seats everywhere inside that arena. So one home court advantage, that's the Knicks. When you look head to head, this is actually the 6th series meeting between New York and Miami, and the Knicks hold a 3-2 all-time series edge. Now, of course, there's different teams in there, so take that with a grain of salt. Regular season, Knicks also edged them out, winning 3 of their 4 games. Playoff Jimmy is incredible. We've talked about this. How long is it sustainable? I don't really think at all. He averaged 37 points per game in round 1. You looked how low scoring this Cavs and Knicks series was. Jimmy Butler is not going to be putting up the same numbers in this second round. And like we said, the Heat really needed Giannis to be injured and not 100% and everything to go right in order for them to win this series. If we're looking at players that I find interesting, I will say the Knicks are Brunson's team now. Okay. Julius who? The Knicks are Brunson's team. So if I'm looking at props and when they become available, I'm looking at Brunson for a lot of these because this guy's been absolutely electric. And you alluded to this as well. You win the turnover battle, you're going to win the game, and you're going to win the series. And New York leads the playoffs in forced turnovers at 15, just under 16 per game. And they also lead in points off of turnovers at 22 per game. So I'm looking at Brunson in this series. I'm looking at turnovers in this series. Maybe look at some forced turnover props. But yeah, give me the Knicks in 6 at plus 450.
I like that. And then when you look at your track record, you did say Dubs in 6, and it's looking pretty good.
Yeah. I'm excited to retire the beam team, light the beam. I'm over it. Okay. We're retiring the beam. The aliens are no longer going to see the purple light. And it's all Dub Nation here, baby. All right, let's go to the the West. Nuggets, number 1 seed versus the Suns, the number 4 seed. This one is really an exciting matchup to me. And I think if we look at it from a purist standpoint, this is the Western Conference Finals, right? You got the number 1 seed versus probably the most stacked or talented team in the Suns. And the odds here are Nuggets to win, or no, Nuggets are the underdog, plus 110, Suns minus 130 to win the series. This one's hard for me to handicap and to really look at because we haven't seen them play each other in full strength. They both won 2-2 games in the season series, but there was no KD, obviously, with the Suns for the first 2 games, and then no Jokic there in the back end games. Both of these teams are rested. They completed their gentleman's sweep in their respective series. The reason why it's so tough is because, okay, Phoenix is 12-1 with Durant. The only game
Mhm.
that they have lost with Durant is that first game versus the Clippers in the last series. And then you got Mr. Double Double, who's an absolute machine. And you got the Denver Nuggets that have home court advantage in Denver with high altitude, which I know I said the Knicks is probably the best home court advantage, but maybe Denver is because teams aren't used to this high of elevation. And the Nuggets were crazy at home, 34-7 in their own building. So I'm gonna go Nuggets in 7 at plus 350.
I love it. I'm with you on the Nuggets. I'm not gonna do a series bet. I'm just gonna go Nuggets to win the series, not like
Mhm.
a in which
Yeah,
game.
plus 110.
Yeah, plus 110. I'm not gonna get greedy. I'll
Yeah,
take the plus money they're
fair.
offering. Nuggets third in offensive rating in the playoffs, sixth in defensive rating in the playoffs, second in overall net rating in the entire playoffs. They're one of the most complete, well rounded teams. And ultimately, I think that's what this series is going to come down to: the Nuggets' depth versus the Suns' lack of depth, right? You touched on it, the elevation. When the Suns are playing in Denver, that's going to take a serious toll on a team who doesn't have a very deep roster. We look at the
Ooh,
series,
true.
right? A lot of
Yeah,
people are not talking about that.
yeah.
We look at the series that the Suns are coming off of. Yeah, they did win the series, but the Clippers were competitive in every single game without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Exactly. I'm not sold on this Suns team. Okay, totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Suns defense, I think, is very suspect. You
Mhm.
look at the Nuggets, the way they play, just very good team basketball. They pass, they move, they get on the fast break, they play defense. I really like the Nuggets here, especially when you consider like the Nuggets have to be one of the most disrespected number one seeds coming into the playoffs, right? They
No
find
one believes in
themselves
them.
underdogs here. So, yeah, I like the Nuggets to get it done.
Well, and first of all, credit to you. You were on the Nuggets as a long shot to win the whole thing, and that's kind of looking better and better because we both think that they're going to get out of this round into the final there. It's gonna. I'm interested matchup wise. What do you think? You got Jokic, who is just an absolute unit, right? Double
Mhm.
double every other day, and they win 90% of their games when he gets a double double. But now he's matched up with Kevin Durant and DeAndre Ayton, who are his size. He's got two guys now that are his size. Do you think that Jokic is going to be productive, or maybe there's some props you're going to look at, or maybe you wait and see how game one goes, see how the matchup looks? But what are you thinking as far as like players to look out for?
So I got a hot take here. I
Okay.
think Nikola Jokic is going to average a triple double the entire series here.
Can you bet that? Is that a bet?
I don't know if it's a bet, but you can take his over points, over rebounds,
Yeah,
over assists every game, right? You could probably
yeah.
parlay them on
I
Caesars
wonder if
or
there's some kind of series bet where he, like, gets one in every game. I mean, the odds of that would be crazy. Probably not, but that'd be fun.
yeah, I mean, some of these bets that the sports books are rolling out, you never know. And Caesars does have some great options, so you got to look into it because that might be there. You never
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I think Nikola Jokic is going to come out and make a statement here. I think everyone's talking about the Suns, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. What they're doing is not sustainable. They both shot over 50% from the floor against the Los Angeles Clippers. I think the Nuggets just have too many bodies. They're going to rotate. They're going to throw too much at those guys, and I think they will slow them down. So yeah, I think Jokic is going to have a big series. I think Jamal Murray is going to have a nice series. He's finally healthy in the playoffs, right? So yeah, I'm going to target those two guys to have big games.
Okay, I love that. All right, this is a series that has been very entertaining to watch as a card carrying Grizzly hater member myself. So the Lakers had a chance to advance last night, 3-1 in this series, but the Grizzlies they had other plans. And Desmond Bain scored 33 points. John Morant had 31 points. Game 6 tomorrow in LA. Grizzlies have not won a game yet in Los Angeles. What are you thinking for game 6? Do you think this goes to game 7?
Absolutely not. You're talking about the King in a closeout game at home. Yeah, this is one of the best, most profitable spots going back. Like if you look at LeBron James in the playoffs for his career, this is a very profitable.
Match point game? Match point game?
Yeah,
Who's next?
exactly. And then when you factor in the game he just played yesterday,
Mhm.
coming off of 5 of 17 shooting for 17 points, yeah, you touched on it. The Grizzlies, they're what 1-8 straight up in their last 9 games in LA. The Lakers 5-0 in their last 5 home games. The Lakers gelling at the right time. Anthony Davis finally looks like Anthony Davis of old. LeBron James looks like he's still the king. So yeah, I got to go Lakers here. I don't love the 4.5 points,
Yeah.
but I do think they win the game outright.
Yeah, look, I lean this 4.5. It is kind of a tricky, sharp number. And look, the Grizz were able to stay alive, but they're the inferior team. I know that they're the better seed, but like we said, Lakers before and after the trade deadline are two entirely different teams. And the Lakers should not have been in the play-in tournament and, the seed that they are. This is one of the top teams in the West right now. And like you said, King James, LeBron James, he wants it too. And like the Grizzlies are so unlikable. I don't think there's anyone outside of Memphis that likes the Memphis Grizzlies. And I don't even know that everybody in Memphis likes the Grizzlies. You got Dylan Brooks, who's the biggest clown of the NBA. And here's the this is neither here nor there, but you look at Dylan Brooks and you look at someone like Draymond Green, right? Those are two people that are considered villains, right?
Mhm.
That get a bunch of technicals, that get ejected, that get suspensions. Obviously, Green more than anybody else, but he's also been around a lot longer. Draymond Green can dish it and he will poke the bear, as Dylan Brooks said, but he can take it and he doesn't shy away from it. He's still going to
Yep.
talk to the press. He's still going to show up. It was actually in the Grizzlies series last year when, Draymond had the whoop that trick thing, right? And then the Warriors got blown out in one game. And so the stadium starts screaming the whoop that trick. And he's there dance with everybody because he can take it. Dylan Brooks cannot take it. You cannot say that you like poking bears, call LeBron James, all of these things, and then not want to talk after the game. So give me the Lakers minus the 4.5. The Grizzlies are great at home, but they are bad in LA, and LeBron James very rarely loses a match point game.
Lakers 23-12 straight up this season as the favorite. And I'll give you, did you see Dylan Brooks actually deactivated his social media?
I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's what drives me insane. It's like, and look, mental health is a real thing. Bullying is not cool. I get it, but you cannot. And he's like, oh, the media is making me out to be a villain, bro. You have said all of these things out of your own mouth. It's all on tape. We can see it. You poke the bear, and not even just LeBron James. You continually poke every bear out there, and then you can't take it. So my advice to Dylan Brooks is, don't dish it out if you don't want it back.
Not only did he poke the bear, he literally said, "I like poking the bear," and
Yeah.
then he goes MIA. So
Well,
yeah,
he punched him in the balls and then got ejected from the game, and just he's just someone that it's hard to have respect for him. One, he's been absolutely horrible in this series. He has not really done anything in terms of helping his team out on the floor with points and whatever. And then two, you there's nothing that you have to back it up. And I do think it's remember when John Morant said, we're not worried about anybody in the West, and it's like you're about to get bounced out of the first round. And yes, you fought to stay alive, and it was not the Lakers' best game, but it's going to be different. And the more I talk about this, the more fired up I am to lay this 4.5 with LeBron James and the
Y
Lakers.
you know what's interesting too? Like, if you think back to last season, I've never seen a team go from being like the Grizzlies are one of the more likable teams in the NBA, and like you said, there's no team that's hated more than the Memphis Grizzlies. I've never seen anything like it in sports. Like, Ja Morant went from being the absolute
Yes,
hero, kids love them, to
yes.
people hate Ja Morant now.
Well, the John Morant stuff is interesting. Like, obviously, with him, what is it called? Brandishing with a gun and in a
Yep.
strip club or wherever he was. Like, that is terrible behavior. And then, then you say I gotta do better at managing my stress or something. And look, his PR team did a fabulous job of making it seem like he's suffering from all of, and like maybe he is, I don't know, but I don't think that specific instance is whatever. He spends 2 days in getting therapy, and then all of a sudden he's back and he's doing all the same things. But yeah, his reputation has gone down. I can't remember what I was watching. And who said this, but I thought it was so poignant where they said what the Grizzlies need is a veteran. It's a very young team. All of these there's no one there to say, don't do this, act better, do better. And so I think they need some kind of a veteran energy there to like rein these young bucks in because they're wilding out and they've got nothing to show for it. Imagine if John Moran and Dylan Brooks were on a team with Kobe Bryant. You think they'd be acting like that? No way.
No.
No
Tell you
way.
what, Dylan Brooks would not be. Kobe Bryant would have packed Dylan Brooks up in training camp. Kobe would have never. He would have saw right through Dylan Brooks.
Right, exactly. And by the way, everybody else does too, but there's no one on his team. There's no kind of old head, vet, respected guy that can check any of them. And so that's why they're like wild and out of control. So I don't know. We'll see. But Lakers close this one out and cover the 4.5. Now, my favorite team to talk about, Warriors came away with a big, massive road win last night, taking the series 3-2. We're headed back to Chase Center. Curry, 31 points with the dagger. Did you watch this game last night?
No.
It was on pretty late. Okay. So we were doing really well. I say the first quarter, Kings were pretty dominant. By the second quarter, the Warriors are trying to get into their stride. Third quarter, Warriors looking pretty good. Fourth quarter, I think at one point we had a 12-point lead, and then the Warriors start making mistakes, turnovers, fouls. They actually fouled out, and it starts inching closer and closer. You're like, oh God, I could just see how this is happening, because the Kings were incredibly disciplined. They had not had a foul at all in the fourth quarter. And then Curry just hits this ridiculous shot and one. And then that was just the dagger, and that was the end of the game. So anyways, 31 points for Curry. Draymond Green, 21 points. It was the first time that he had scored over 20 points since I can't remember what the stat was. It was like 2012 or something. It was like a very, very long time ago. He had not scored that many points. And you got to think, this crowd hates him. Every time he stepped up, he got booed. Every time he missed a shot, they were laughing at him. So it was a very hostile environment for him. 21 points for Draymond Green in his return from suspension. Now, of course, he did return in that game at Chase Center, but this was his first time back at the Kings Golden One Center, I believe it's called. So anyways, game 6. I know I'm a homer, right? Okay, Kings money line plus 240, Warriors minus 305. This spread is 7. This spread is ridiculous, okay? The Warriors win this game, and I won't be surprised if the Warriors win by 7, but I am not taking that bet. I would lean. I think the better bet is the Kings plus 7. Again, Warriors win, absolutely dominant at home, but this is a closeout game, and all of these games, with the exception of game 3, have been incredibly close. I'm not laying the 7 points.
So but you lean Kings, but you're not betting them, right?
No. I'm not betting against the Warriors, but the Warriors win this. I have Warriors in 6 tickets, so I'm happy with the Warriors just closing out this game. I'll look at prop bets. They're not available right now, but Game 6 Clay, guys, is a real thing. So
Mhm.
bet on Steph Curry to keep being Steph Curry, over on his points, over on his threes, and do the same for Klay Thompson, because Game 6 Clay, look it up, people, is a real thing. But I'm not going to lay the 7 with the Warriors. That's too risky for me.
Yeah, the Warriors 35-8 straight up at home this season. The Warriors have won 8 straight home games versus the Kings by an average of 11 points per game. And then you just look at how the series has transitioned, right? After the Kings grabbed that 2-0 lead, they're allowing 121 points per game. They're only shooting 30% from 3, and they're averaging over 14 turnovers per game. So the Warriors defense has ratcheted up. The experience is shining through. Steph Curry, you mentioned game 6 Clay. Andrew Wiggins is back. He's balling. Yeah, the Kings lost the series in game 5. They needed to win that because going into Golden State to try and win on the road in a closeout playoff environment against the I just noticed that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The champs are back. The
Yeah,
champs are back.
yeah, they're back. Give me the dubs here. I agree the 7 is a lot, but would anyone be shocked if the Warriors come out and win this game by 20 plus?
That's what I'm saying. It's like I won't be surprised if it happens, but the way that this series has gone, and like, all respect to the Kings, because they are fighters. They have not gone down without a fight. And look, Darren Fox and his finger, he re-aggravated his finger, I think in like the second or the third, and he really just wasn't the same since. You talk about fourth quarter Fox, he's usually their assassin, their sniper, their Steph Curry, and he didn't really make any shots. Monk was the one carrying the team. If you don't have Darren Fox, and then you go into Chase Center where the Warriors are dominant and they've already beat you at home, the blood is in the water. I agree, but it's hard. I'm not surprised, but I'm not going to lay. Look, again, I'm happy with my Warriors in 6 bet, so we'll keep this here. Now let's talk about the Celtics and the Hawks. I don't know what's going on with the Celtics team, but that was an incredibly embarrassing fourth quarter collapse earlier this week against the Hawks. This should not be going on this long. Game 6 is tonight. If it gets pushed to a game 7, are the Celtics in trouble? Could the Hawks lead this series?
Absolutely. All the pressure is on the Celtics here, right? Coming into this series, everyone was counting the Hawks out. You look at the Celtics, 19-23-1 against the spread when they're favored by 6.5 points or more. I really like the Hawks here, plus the 7. I think you could probably wait to game time and maybe get a 7.5, maybe it bumps up to 8. I think the Hawks with Ice Trey at home, I think they do force game 7. And it feels a little bit like deja vu. A few years ago when they made that run to the Eastern Conference Finals, they fired their coach midseason. They hired Nate McMillan. They make that deep run. Same thing. They fire their coach couple months before the playoffs start. Now they're starting to heat up. Ice Trey's, doing Ice Trey things. Yeah, he's hitting the too cold to the Celtics fans. So, yeah, I like the Hawks here with the points.
I don't disagree with you, but that's why we take the Celtics in the first half because the first half is not their problem. They are dominant in the first half and they have been all season long. They collapse and fall apart in the second half. So laying the 3.5 with the Celtics minus 115 is my play on this one. I wouldn't be surprised if the Hawks do push this to a game 7. And I do definitely think that the Celtics are in trouble, but I think they're going to come out with a vengeance, and they are one of the best first half teams in the league. And again, that has not been their problem at all. They've had monster leads in the first half in this series and have just completely collapsed. So giving the Celtics minus the 3.5 in the first half, we can probably both cash with that one. All right. Anything else you're interested in right now? How's baseball going for you?
Baseball's going good. Season started a little shaky. It took a little bit. It was a learning curve with the new rules, no shift.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of a learning curve, but things are starting to heat up, and I'm confident going forward. Things I always say, whether you start off and you're hitting 75, 80%, or you start off and you're hitting 50,
It's a long
55%,
season.
they always regress. You're never going to stay all the way up here. You're never going to stay all the way down here, as long as you know what you're doing. So yeah, I'm confident going forward in baseball. Back to the Celtics series, though, I do like Jason Tatum. I would take his over points.
Yes.
He's obviously, we see it all the time. He channels that inner Kobe
Yep.
Bryant Mamba mentality. He was his idol. We saw it last postseason run. Jason Tatum in the big moments, the lights are
Until
shining
the
the
finals.
brightest.
Until the
Well,
finals.
yeah, until the finals, yeah. But I mean, he played some good games.
He
It's
did.
just the Warriors were too much. So
Yeah.
I know you had to just throw that one in there for your
You
Warriors.
know, look, it's like between we've faced a lot of hardship as a 49ers fan, so we really lean heavily into the Warriors.
Would
So
you say you're a bigger 49ers fan or Warriors fan?
49ers fan.
Okay.
Well, so here's the thing. So my teams are as such: 49ers number 1, Warriors number 2. I was a San Jose Sharks fan for a very long time, and we were season ticket holders for a very long time. But I kind of when I moved to LA, because I lived in LA for a very long time, and all of a sudden they were out of market. I couldn't watch as many Sharks games, and I kind of fell out of that. Now football's a little different. It's like once a week. The hockey games are 2 or 3 times a week, so it's hard to keep up with it. But football, and I could go to a bar, and then I got NFL Game Pass and all that kind of stuff. And then the Warriors, because they're so good, you can almost always see them. And we did have season tickets to the Warriors for a short time when we were younger. But yeah, the Niners are a personality trait for me,
Yeah.
So it's totally different. And by the way, the draft is tonight. And you're a Patriots fan. How you feeling about this draft? I don't know. Do you bet on the draft at all?
Not really. I think there are some interesting bets you can make. Like, Will Levis has skyrocketed up the draft board. Makes absolutely no sense.
Because of Do you know why, Kenny? Some anonymous person put something on a Reddit thread that said that, oh, I'm very close with Will Levis's friends, and he's telling friends and family that Carolina is a lock, that they are guaranteed to take him. It's not credit. And so then, of course, what do people do? They start hammering it, which shifts all of the odds. It's not based on anything real. I mean, I guess to our knowledge, but
No,
it's just so crazy how volatile the betting market is. Based on an anonymous post on Reddit can change everything.
yeah, the thing that stands out to me with the draft, because there's always that one player that the media pumps up, and like a Will Levis, the odds you see they go from plus 40,000 to they plummet down.
400 plus 400. Yeah.
Yeah, if the hype is starting, the further we get away from actual football being played, the
Yeah.
more hype that player is getting, it just doesn't make sense. Like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, like they've been elite quarterbacks for
Yeah.
the last 2-3 years in college. So yeah, Will Levis, we got to pump the brakes on that. I know he's got the cannon. He was actually ranked 164th last year among
Oof.
all college quarterbacks in deep ball accuracy. So he's got the big arm, but he's not very good at throwing the deep ball. So
Yeah.
yeah. interesting how that plays
Yeah,
out.
I mean, and now the NFL has made it too that the draft is like a full spectacle. I mean, we've got prime time Thursday night. There's only one NBA game tonight, I think, because they don't want to compete with the draft. And so I will be tuning in. It's always exciting to see, who goes first and how many quarterbacks go and what. I mean, the Niners don't really have anything in the first round or anything exciting, so it's whatever for me. But all right, Kenny. Well, thank you for joining us today. You can follow him at Kennybot at Kenny Bets Big across all social media platforms. Please don't follow him if you are a bot, like I just said, because we don't need more of those. But this was Moxie Bets presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Don't forget to follow us on social at Moxie Bets. See you next time.